How are you? It's Kevin Kenny. Welcome to a brand new edition of Build. And our guest today's talents seriously know no bounds. He is the youngest music director and band leader in late night history, and his brand new album, Hollywood Africans, is due out everywhere at the end of the month on September 28th. Please let's give a very warm Build welcome to Jon Batiste.
Hey, yeah, my man.
You are loved. Did you hear that?
Man, that's the people. Hey, wow.
We have some boy bands that stop by here, some pop acts that have these rabid fan armies. That was pretty loud, Jon.
I like the loud and proud vibe.
Yeah.
Loud and proud.
How you feel? You feel great to me today. The vibe is amazing in the room, but how do you feel?
Man, I feel good. I feel free. I feel fine just being me. I feel good today. Oh, so good today.
I ask that question a lot to kick off interviews. That's the first time we had a sing-along answer. That's amazing. That's great. This is gonna be a fun one. Well, you say you feel free. Of course, you're singing right there. But is there a freeing feeling now that the record is done and we're mere weeks away from it being out in the world?
It's crazy because this record started. The genesis of it started with a conversation back in 2013. Bono had a birthday party, and I was at the party, and I was performing for Bono as a gift. And there's a table of musicians who performed, including like Herbie Hancock, who's a hero of mine, and Pharrell Williams performed right before me. And then I go on stage, and he doesn't know who's about to perform. There's a curtain. And every time you perform, you leave the stage and you join the table and hang with Bono. T-Bone was at the table, the great T-Bone Burnett, who helped me produce this album. And we started talking about the history of American music. This is the first time we'd ever met. And of course, I knew his work. He's incredible. Anybody in music knows his work. So, I'm picking his brain. He's asking me questions about New Orleans and all the different things that I love. And we start collaborating over the course of the next 2 years. Fast forward to 2015, we go to the studio in New Orleans that you told me you've been to, Esplanade Studios, which is an old church, and the control room is on the second floor.
Beautiful.
And it's a beautiful place. And we just went in. We read a Zora Neale Hurston poem about High John the Conqueror, talking about the spirit that's in the ancestors and all the music, these strains of American cultural music. And we put the piano in the middle of the room, cut the lights off for like 2.5 days, and we started recording. And most of the stuff on the record was done, in 2015, with one take, me playing and singing, and then we came back and did 1 or 2 other sessions late last year. And so over the course of 6 years or so, 5 sessions, this record is made.
Do you think that, despite it being made over such a long time, there is a continuity in the record? It seems.
Absolutely.
And that's an achievement unto yourself and the people that worked on the record to do that. Do you think you can attribute that to where you recorded it because it was home?
It felt great recording it at home because I feel like a lot of the spirits that we were drawing from in New Orleans.
Especially that room, man.
Yeah.
Like, can you speak on that room really quick? Because I know you and I have been in it, but...
It's like there's something in the space that has history. When you go to New Orleans, you're talking about the African, French, Spanish, the Caribbean, all just melding into one. And then you have these old churches, these buildings, or these semi-cathedrals, and you have all of this history that's going on in there. And I believe that a place holds that energy. So when you walk in and you look up and you see, wow, the ceiling's like 100 feet up there, and you feel all this energy just swarming around you. And that's a great thing for an artist to channel, especially if you can, I imagine it coming into me, going through the piano and onto the wax, and that's what that was the focus of it. And I think that's why it has continuity, because the theme is the same. We're trying to tap into this universal energy that's been around since the beginning of time, and it's in all of black music, and it's in all of the music across the globe now. Just tapping into it, the blues, folk music, gospel, just the roots, man.
Yeah. I have to, and I don't even know if you can quantify this question that I'm going to ask you, but I've got you here. I have to. Yeah. Is, of course, anywhere in the world has history. New York City has immense history. Yeah. But there's something about New Orleans that history is alive and it's visceral and you can almost feel it in your bones. Me never having been there before, I could feel it. Me not being a musician, I could feel it. What is it about the city, or maybe even its history? Maybe that's where the answer lies. That makes it sort of live through on to today.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it historically. I mean, there's something that you just can't explain about it. But I think if you wanted to have a theory, you could say, 1700s, New Orleans is the biggest port city in the world at a certain time, where you have all of these different influences coming in and out. Now, you look at the world now, and we're more connected now than ever, and everything is kind of becoming more and more a part of the other thing. But this was unheard of at this time in the world. And then you have the style of colonization with the French, and the slaves are they're bringing the culture from Africa in the Congo Square, and over a couple hundred years, that's growing and developing and melding with the culture of everybody else who's coming into this port. And if you have that going on, by the time I come around, and it's 2018 now, I'm growing up in the 90s, and I'm experiencing all of this stuff that's just been a part of the fabric of everyday life for hundreds of years. So it's a very unique historical positioning for any place to have.
Definitely. It's a special place. I'm in awe of it. You talk about the journey of this record beginning in 2013 at Bonos Party. I love that you performing, by the way, is a gift.
Yeah, it was a
and
wild
it is
thing.
A gift, but
it's wild to be there. But the just the whole atmosphere was great. You could tell that I think I'd say a lot of things were born out of that night. This record being one of them,
Right. And then you talk about the journey from 2013 to today, and then 2015. Big thing happens in your life. You get a pretty big gig in this city.
Yeah.
The youngest music director and band leader in late night history.
Oh yeah, that was quite a call.
And it was one that you were waiting to make to him, and he beat you to it.
Yeah, because at the time, I was on his old show, The Colbert Report, if you're familiar with that. It was a great show, ran for 10 years, and we had become friends on that show, to the point that I was invited even onto his finale show, where there was a bunch of great guests there. And I was just thinking about it. It just felt right. Sometimes your intuition leads you to the place that you're going, and you can go there quicker maybe if you take the steps, but you're gonna get there. It's fate. It was just one of those kind of things that's like, okay, I feel like we need to go here, and then all of a sudden we're there.
On the topic of that just piqued my interest of following your intuition and fate. Is that sort of what you're touching on in your song "Don't Stop"? When you say things like, there's nothing to be afraid of, don't stop.
Exactly. I mean, just thinking about what we have in us. We have so much in us, man. Everybody has so much just innately there to be developed, to share, to express. And I feel like there's a lot of things that can discourage you from believing that that's true, and also from putting those things out there and exploring those things. In particular, in a time where things are so divided and there's there's a lot of noise. You got to drown out the noise and find that thing that helps you to zero into you at your most authentic level of expression, or whatever it is you're doing. Maybe it's just about being who you are. And there's certain things that when you do those things, you feel more like yourself. And there's certain things when you do those, you shouldn't be doing, especially the residual effect. You're like, every time I go to this place or talk to these people, something right here is not feeling right. So it's really more just like, first, let's subtract those things, and also let's not stop believing in the other things, the higher ideals that we know are the right things for us to be doing.
Absolutely. You talk about how noisy the world has become. It's probably the noisiest. You guys have to actually address it every night, of course, on CBS. Did that affect at all how you sonically approached this album? Because sonically, you stripped everything back.
It was specifically about the idea of slowing down. and getting back to the basics, foundation. Me being a musician, piano is my foundational instrument, and also just the intimacy of me playing and singing and it being stuff that's done live, one take, drawing from just getting back to the basics. And that's really something that I want as almost an invitation for people to listen to the record and slow down the pace of their lives to kind of engage with it. Some of the songs are even written as meditations, meaning that you can close your eyes and listen to the lyric and the melody and be brought to a place. And that's something that I think will, again, help us to be more authentically human. It's not really our nature to be constantly attacking or constantly defending or being bombarded with things in the media, all these things that we have to deal with. And it's important to call stuff out too, but there has to be a balance. And this is kind of one of the goals of the project, is to not only pay homage to this lineage and connect to the spirit, but use it for what it was made for to begin with, to heal people.
It is it is a healing record. You talk about meditation. When I hear that word, I think about your beautiful rendition that I believe it was going to appear on this record of "What a Wonderful World." That is amazing. Has anybody heard that? How great is that? Can we get a round of applause for that? Beautiful,
Thank
right?
you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that one is a meditation in one of the most deliberate sense of the word meditation on the record. Is literally a drone that is played in my left hand. It's the same note, and it lulls you into a place of peace before the lyric comes in, and that's part of the whole concept throughout the record. There are moments where you can get up and sing along or dance. There's a lot of sing along kind of things, but there's also moments where you can just close your eyes and zone out. Or it's even if it's atmosphere setting as well. You can put the record on and it puts some energies in your house. That it's just a lot of things we were thinking about. A word that we kept throwing around in the studio was trances. Because we had the lights off during those sessions, so we couldn't even see each other half the time. And I felt like he and I would get into a trance at certain points. Like he would be listening, and he would be just like kind of, and his eyes would be shut real tight, and I'll be playing, and I don't even know what the next song would be, but it would sometimes blend together. I play one song, and it would end up being a medley just because I'm following the stream of consciousness. So then when you listen back to it, you can hear that in it. It's crazy how much the moment in the space that you're in comes out on the record.
Yeah. Did you record this upstairs or downstairs at Esplanade?
Oh, I was downstairs in the control room. He was upstairs.
So you had the lights off. I mean, imagine an empty church, essentially, if you have never been to the studios. It's really like an empty cathedral.
Yes,
it's a very large room. So it was like just you and the lights off. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Piano in the middle of the room. And it really does capture the moment, when you do something like that, especially, one take and you go back and structure it. We recorded over 40 songs, and coming back to structure it was really like revisiting a moment,
Yeah. When you approach a song like "Wow, What a Wonderful World" that has been performed and really made their own by so many great artists throughout history, how do you know, it may just be intuition, but how do you know where to take it? How do you know how to make it your own? When you look at that arrangement and you say, okay, or that composition, you say, okay.
Yeah, we've heard that song before.
Right, what can we build upon?
I like to think about songs from the melodic perspective, and also just the message, the lyric. Obviously, those are like technical ways of approaching it, but really, it's more about like songs as people. It's like every person has a side of themselves that may not be everybody doesn't see it. It may be like Louis Armstrong, for instance, was a performer. He's known for being a very happy, jovial kind of guy. But if you listen to like some of the recordings he had of himself around his house talking to his wife, or read his letters, just there's a lot about him that the public didn't see.
Yeah.
And a song can be like that. You can listen to something and be like, oh, this has something else in it that may be on the surface, but let's go deeper into that in lieu of some of the other aspects of the song. It's a Wonderful World is an example of a song where it's like the lyric says a lot about life and the cycle of life and the way that the world is such a divine place before all the things that we've done to it. Just that message to me was always in the song, but maybe not brought out. So I just try to find different characteristics within the songs,
Yeah.
bring them out.
No, of course. You think about songs like that almost as people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, songs have a life. Songs go through a birth,
Yeah.
and then they have a life. And that's really like a person, and they affect people's lives. People have moments where they remember listening to a certain song. And I think all of that's really important, especially when you're making a record. You're making the soundtrack for people's lives.
Yeah.
This is like it's a friend. You're writing a friend, somebody to console. These are people who, they'll listen to your song for years and then they'll pass it on. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're giving them a friend, because if you think
Yeah.
about it, these major life moments, it's you, it's your loved one, and then the third subject in the room a lot of times is the song that you maybe have written.
Ooh, that's a vibe. I like that. That's good. Wow.
Well, and you talk about lifetimes of a song. Just one particular example, because you're of course you're 100% right. But I like when artists will revisit songs from earlier in their life. I think of Both Sides Now by Judy Collins.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
saying that as a young singer, and then she revisited it. And of course, it's the subject matter of that song is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect for this. But the song changes over time.
Well, yeah, it's crazy to hear a performer do a song and it be completely different.
Yeah.
But I think there's reason for that, like hearing Bob Dylan live now, just the way that the songs have changed. But the artist changes, so that's a great way of not only hearing the song differently, but getting a closer understanding of what the artist is dealing with as a person.
Right. You get to perform with so many amazing artists, during your late night show with Stephen Colbert, of course. Do you find that experience, because you're really collaborating, right? You're collaborating with so many different genres. Does that make you a better artist? Do you think that job has made you a better artist personally?
It's been great because a lot of times we'll go up. Every day is different. We don't know what's coming because the world is changing and our show is about the world. And then certain artists emerge and other artists are classic artists who've come on the show, or even legends have come on the show. And it's great to, it's made me a better musician, but what I find to be interesting is just the different things that myself being an artist and band leader for a while, things I've developed that I don't even think about or see as like significant in terms of an approach. And artists will come to me and be like, well, how do you do that? Like, what is that? How did y'all develop that kind of communication, that nonverbal thing y'all do? It's just, and it's helped me to actually be able to like explain these things that I've been doing for so long because I'm working with so many different people and I'm getting inside their music, but they're also like, whoa, man, like what? How do we get some of that? It was also, and I'm just thinking about, we just lost Mac Miller, but we just did, we saw him. Maybe,
Ladders.
Yeah, Ladders. That was 3 weeks before. We performed that. We were hanging out in the dressing room. It was like you wouldn't imagine that it would be what it is now. With him, but anyway, just talking about music with everybody and just like sharing my concept because we started a lot of what we do on the show in the subways of New York. We would leave Juilliard and go down and play in the subways, and do these things we call love riots, which is, you know, kind of a big part of our concept. It's like a mobile processional, and it's about really just creating a sense of community wherever we are. And it's crazy now to be doing that and other things that I've developed on TV and enhancing other artists' music with that, and me learning from you know how to combine my concept in another context. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Just getting back to Mac really quick. Did you have the opportunity to talk about music with him at all, or did you have any conversations while he was at the show?
Oh yeah, I mean that was our second time working together. Man, it was crazy because he was just talking about the idea of real music and instruments in hip hop and just the range of places you can take that. Him working with Thundercat, who was also someone I've collaborated with, is a great bassist. Everybody who hears him is just blown away. He's an incredible musician, and the stuff that they were planning to do on tour, man, we lost a great person, but also just a great artist and thinker, and especially in terms of hip hop and bridging the gap between many things, you know.
Absolutely, man. Well said, John. All right, we have this amazing audience here in attendance. I'd love to get some questions from them before we run out of time. The first is going to come from right over here.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
great.
When working on such a valuable and soulful project like this, when do you, as an artist, determine it's time to release it? Like, do you approach it as, okay, I'm ready to give this out into the world, or the world is ready to receive this?
Great question. Because, wow, because the funny thing is, when we recorded back in 2015, we didn't even think of it as an album. It was just us creating art together, collaborating, which is part of the reason why it's coming out now. I often think about things in terms of what the world is ready for, and also what the world may be lacking, and how can I contribute that. There's not a lot of music with space in it, and a lot of music made for people to think and meditate, but also be uplifted. Like, you can think, and sometimes if you think about what's going on around you, it can bring you down. But there's not a lot of music that makes you think and go deeper into yourself and your authentic being, but be uplifted by it. So that's why I actually came back to add a few more songs to the project. Once I thought, I was like, because I have maybe 10 records from start to finish that are in the 75-80% done in my trunk. That because I just always am making music, and this one just stood out to me. It's like, okay, it's time for this. It's time for this to come out. So let's finish it, and that's when we did the last couple sessions. So that's a great question. I didn't mention that, but that's actually a big part of the process.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, we have time for a few more. Let's get to the second one. It'll come from back here.
Hi. I'm currently at NYU studying film, but music has always been like a huge part of my life, and
Oh,
I'm
nice.
really interested in music videos. So I'm wondering kind of how you approach music videos, how you decide what you want to make a music video for, and what you hope to accomplish with your music videos.
And yeah, another great question. I think about videos in two ways. One is the element of it being a production in and of itself. That's an extension of the record. So you have this song, and if the song could live in a visual context and tell maybe a more detailed story or a more nuanced story, or perhaps add to the story, what would that production be? It's like almost like adapting a book into a musical. So then I think about, okay, what don't I want to share? Because sometimes you leave things out that were in the book. What do I want to elaborate on? And that can be, you know, expressed through the visual language, or sometimes you can express it through a production technique. Like we shot this all in one shot, which was to illustrate this is a dance between two people. And it's also a piece of art in and of itself because her dancing is art. So it's a three-way medium. It's the music, the dance, and the visual. And the other way that I think about it is really documenting a moment. So if it's not an adaptation or an addition to the music in a production of something that adds to that, it's more about, okay, let me document a moment that relates to or explains the music. So maybe it's a live performance, or maybe it's just like, it could be something on an iPhone. I mean, it's just really about capturing a moment that enhances the experience in the context of when you listen to the music, you know.
Well said. We got one time for one more question.
Hey, John.
Hey,
First of all, congratulations on the album. This
Thank
is,
you.
Such a labor of love. So congratulations. But you've also had a number of collaborations that have been really fantastic. You know, with Leon Bridges and Gary Clark Jr. Of course, Stay Human. I'm wondering if there's any artists out there that you're really looking to collab with for maybe your next project.
wow, yeah. There's so many great artists. I actually, I'm always listening to stuff and finding out that there's somebody in the world who I didn't know about who was awesome. There's Duendita. Are you familiar? I discovered this is great, amazing. I want to do a collab. I mean, there are the greats who I've always loved. I've played with Stevie a lot. Stevie Wonder. I want to collab with Stevie. We always talk about it every time we see each other, but we'll get around to it eventually on record. So there's like two categories. There's like people who a lot of people share stuff with me. I learn about a lot of stuff from the show. But then there's like, you always got to learn from the greats. So I put those two, Duendita and Stevie. And you know, eventually, I want to produce more. I produced for a great singer on Rock Nation named Victory Boyd.
She's been on the show.
Oh, great. Yeah. Victory is amazing. So I've been doing a lot of that kind of stuff behind the scenes, so eventually doing more of that. And then just continuing down the thread wherever inspiration leads, you know. It's a beautiful thing.
Great. Thank you. Can't wait to see what's in the
Yeah.
John, I'm going to let you go. I know we're running out of time, but I did want to talk about the name of the album, of course, Hollywood Africans.
Yeah.
It actually comes from a 1983 painting. I believe we have the painting to look at right here.
Yes.
So just take us through here in closing why you named the album based off the painting.
So Hollywood Africans here from the 1940s scratched out. 1940s, there was so many things going on. Hattie Mae wins the Academy Award, first Black Academy Award, and you think about the world of entertainment, and you think about all of the references. He's got Sugar Cane hit. He's got a movie star, footprint scratched out, like erasing the history. It's copyrighted. Everything's for sale. 200 yen. It's global. Yen, Chinese. There's so many. His work in general is it influences me. Paw. Vernacular that was used a lot of times as a degrading form of vernacular for African American entertainers and performers who had to put on a mask, but were innovating and changing the culture and really elevating and uplifting people. So I'm kind of speaking to what he's saying, but also it's not an indictment. This is much like an indictment of the culture, and you know. I'm speaking to the fact that there's this divine gift, almost like a calling that was put in the ancestors to share with the world, and no level of marginalization or any form of oppression has been able to stop it. And it is going out into the world, and Nina Simone, Louis, all of the greats have changed and uplifted people and added to their lives. And I'm just happy to be a part of that lineage and continue that and really remember some of the more forgotten strains of the music that was created in this lineage. And that's really what it's all about, But there's so much here.
Yeah.
Just a commentary on industry and heroism. You see how it's in two different colors? That just this. So I could go on about this.
We could have another build about this, it sounds like.
But wow, just so much about like even time and lineage. 1940, no death date. Some like he's saying, okay, we done started something. The door's open for something. Where's it going? It's just like we have a lot of things that we don't address in our American history, and that's why we're having a lot of the problems that we're having, because it's like something that you don't address for so long, and then it just becomes worse, and you figure out ways to like hide it or remedy it or change the way that you approach it so you can temporarily get around the problem, but the problem is still there. It's festering. So yeah, it's a commentary on that, but also it's more about healing and the power of the gift and the thing that was put in the ancestors, that it transcends all of that. Yeah. And that's what I represent.
Absolutely, and that we'll find on the record September 28th.
Yes.
Absolutely. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.